Good morning, or good morning, yeah, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Community Connection Listen and Learn, focused on schools, the City of St. Petersburg, and community partnerships. Thank you to the City of St. Petersburg and staff at the Obama Library for hosting tonight's event. I am Estine Daw. I'm the Director of Strategic Partnerships for Pinellas County Schools, and I will be your host and moderator this evening. The purpose of the Listen and Learn series is to provide stakeholders of Pinellas County with the opportunity to engage with the school board superintendent and district leadership, and tonight to connect with the City of St. Petersburg to promote continuous improvement for our students, families, staff, and community. Over the last 3 years, the board and superintendent have committed to continuing the Listen and Learn sessions, which represent their promise to be visible in the community as we continue to strengthen partnerships both as a district and within our school communities. Our previous sessions focused on bridging the gap and athletics and how we can shift that specific focus with our community partners so that the superintendent and board hear directly from stakeholders about this area of interest. PCS continues. Community Listen and Learn sessions are open to all stakeholders, including students, families, staff, partners, and community members. To start things off, I want to give our board members, our superintendent, and our hosts from the City of St. Petersburg the opportunity to introduce themselves and welcome everyone. Mayor Welch, would you like to start the introductions?
You fooled me. I thought you were going the other way. Good evening, everyone. I'm Ken Welch. I'm the mayor of the City of St. Petersburg, and I'm thrilled to welcome our district leadership, superintendent, and board members to the reimagined Barack Obama Library in the City of St. Petersburg. We believe that education is the most important investment we can make, and we're proud to be here in support of all the good work the school system is doing. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Welch and Dr. Brown, for having us tonight. This is the first time that we've partnered with a municipality, our first, and we had to come to St. Pete to start off, so thank you for having us. And a beautiful new library. I had the chance to walk through before getting started tonight and saw some district students with their district laptops in your study halls upstairs, so excited to see that. I'm Kevin Hendrick, Pinellas County Schools Superintendent. Happy to be here tonight and answer questions from the public, give a brief overview of things that are going on in the school district, and also hear from our city partners on what's happening in the City of St. Petersburg with education and youth. And I'll pass it to Dr. Brown.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Sharon Brown. First of all, I want to thank each of you for sacrificing your time to come out and hear us and be heard. I'm grateful to be here to be able to serve in the role of Director of Education and Youth Opportunities for the City of St. Petersburg. And though I am not born and raised here, I am in my heart. I come here from New York, D.C., and Maryland with over 20 years of experience as a classroom teacher, school leader, network charter leader, and nonprofit education leader. So I bring a wealth of experience and successful experiences, I should say, that I'm so grateful to be able to share with my new home, St. Petersburg. New as in almost 10 years, but you know, you get it.
Good evening. My name is Caprice Edmond, and I'm the chair of Pinellas County School Board. It is definitely an honor to join you this evening. Your voice is extremely important. Your questions, concerns, feedback is valid, and I look forward to hearing from you as well as listening to your questions as we highlight some of the strategic partnerships within Pinellas County Schools and the City of St. Petersburg. So thank you and welcome.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dawn Peters. I am the Vice Chair of the Pinellas County School Board. I am very proud to be here. My daughter has attended St. Petersburg Public Schools here from elementary all the way up to, actually my oldest is getting her master's in library sciences to be a library director at a library here in Pinellas County. So that's very exciting. Beautiful library. I'm proud to be here. I cannot wait to hear what people here in the City of St. Petersburg want to know. And we're very, very happy to come out to the communities and hear from you and see you face to face and have a more relaxed environment to do that.
Good evening. My name is Katie Blacksburg. I am a Pinellas County School Board member. New-ish, about a year on the board. I want to thank you all for being here tonight. It means so much that we have community engagement and be able to hear from you all and answer your questions. I think now more than ever, our public schools need our community support, and we are so happy to have you here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. I do want to do a quick review of tonight's agenda before we start. So Superintendent Hendrick will provide a 15-minute overview. The city will have an overview of its educational and youth opportunities for 10 minutes. Next, we will conduct the Q&A and the city on the city and Pinellas County's community partnerships with the superintendent, board members, and St. Petersburg. That will last 45 minutes. Upon arrival this evening, you received an index card to write your questions on. If you need an additional index card or if you've written your questions down, please raise your hand. They can give you more cards, or you can also give the cards so that we can read them aloud. Following that, all stakeholders will have the opportunity to provide feedback for 15 minutes. Everyone will have the opportunity to participate by posting comments in response to the questions posted around the room. During this time, the superintendent, board members, and the City of St. Petersburg will also be present and will continue to speak directly with stakeholders. Superintendent Hendrick, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Dean. Just going to give a brief overview of some things that are happening in Pinellas County Schools, some highlights to start off, and then dive right into partnerships. But just to start, in case you're not familiar, Pinellas County Schools governed by our 7-member school board, and when we do these listen and learns, all 7 board members always want to be here, but we sort of limit it because when we get into Q&A, there's only so many answers to give to the same question. So we have 3 each time. Our chairperson and vice chair you met are both here, and Katie Blacksburg, so are 3 of our 7 school board members. We, like many organizations, like the city, you have your pillars for progress. We have core values and a vision and mission that guide our work, and you can see those here on the screen. Our board puts together a district strategic plan, and we have a 3-year plan that is ending this school year. And one of the things that we really enjoy in the community is getting feedback from you as to how to improve upon our district strategic plan. A later listen and learn that we do this year will be just around that plan itself, but we always welcome feedback. You can see our 6 strategic priorities here tonight. One of those is strong connections and communication with the community, and certainly we hope being here tonight to talk about that helps in that regard. But to begin, I just want to touch on a little bit of the academic side of the school district. We are very proud to be an A-rated school district, ranked 13th out of the 67 counties. You can see those that are above us in this past school year. Nassau, in the far northeastern part of the state, was first this last year. Certainly amongst our peers of large districts, Miami-Dade and Broward are those that are nearest to Pinellas in terms of number of students, but we're proud of the efforts that our students and schools have made to continue to improve academic performance. And that academic performance over time has continued to go up in terms of the ranking in the state, 13th being our highest since the state started grading schools, and we look forward to continuing that progress. When we talk about this publicly, oftentimes people say, well, it must be easy to get an A. And the answer is no. Our students are actually improving their performance. And so relative to Tampa Bay area school districts, you can see that only 2, Pinellas and Sarasota, are A-rated school districts. In fact, in both of our districts, the majority of schools are A-rated schools. In the other districts that are Bs, you can see the majority of schools are C schools. And so it's not easier to earn an A. Our students are literally performing better. And of particular note, especially as we're here in the city of St. Petersburg, we have no DNF schools, which if you're familiar with the history of schools, we know that that was a problem for a while, and that has not been an issue in Pinellas County. For 2 years in a row, no DNF schools, and we're very proud of the progress that our schools and students have made. Nearly 90% of our schools are rated A or B. Just 13 out of the over 100 district schools were C's last year, and we continue to work on each and every one of those. So how do you get there? Well, one of the components is graduation rate. We're very proud to have another very high graduation rate, 93.4%. Those rates were just released last month based on last year's graduates, including anyone that graduated over the summer. And you can see compared to other, the 10 largest districts and then those just in Tampa Bay, very competitive and with the state average at 92.2. So again, our students are performing very, very well. But tonight, I almost forgot our individual high schools. All of the mayor in the city are above 90%. That is a first this last year that every single traditional high school in the city above 90. But tonight we wanted to highlight a few of the strategic partnerships in particular that are happening at schools in St. Petersburg. And beginning with just a list of different programs and partnerships that we have, some of which directly involve the city, others which city employees participate in, and then some that just city residents do. And just a few: Seniors in Service, Lawyers for Literacy, our Big Brothers Big Sisters connection, the City Reads program, which I suspect we'll hear a little bit about in a minute. We're on the Way, which is an attendance program, the PATH program out of the University of South Florida, where they mentor and guide students towards college. In fact, the last 2 days, we've had nearly 500 students at USF St. Petersburg in some student leadership summits, helped facilitated by PATH. And then Directions for Living, which provides mental health and family supports for students in need. Other powers of partnership, just in terms of the number of hours and some traditional things that you may hear about, the Great American Teach-In, which were always is a big hit in November. You can see how many hours just this last year. Our students all go to the Stavros Institute and participate in Enterprise Village in 5th grade, or Finance Park in 7th and 8th grade. Raise your hand if you remember going to Enterprise Village as a student or parent, like always, right? I bet you if I asked you, you could tell me what your job was or your student's job. Everybody remembers it. It's an experience that they always remember, and certainly we continue with that. And then Take Stock in Children. Take Stock in Children is a scholarship program that was started in Pinellas over 30 years ago that provides a full 4-year scholarship to students who are on free and reduced lunch and then meet certain academic criteria over the course of several years. We have the largest program in the state. This year we'll have over 200 graduates who will graduate as Take Stock scholars. But every one of those needs a mentor. And so they're all matched with a mentor, and the city is one of the largest providers of mentors for students and allows their employees to go out and mentor students to do that. We also have some key partnerships with some organizations that we wanted to highlight tonight. One, our friends at JWB, who happen to be in the room tonight, but do a lot of work on school success, on prevention work, and then strengthening communities and families. And so you can see many of those there, from Why Reads and the Pinellas Campaign for Grade Level Reading, which we now in 3rd grade reading are one of the highest in the state of Florida, through foster grandparenting and outpatient help for children, Family Works, food support, a lot of partnerships with the St. Pete Free Clinic and Baycare and different food pantries, Feeding Tampa Bay, to bring opportunities into schools to our families and our children. And we're grateful for the city's support with that, as well as JWB. We also, again, in cooperation with the city, have a strong partnership with the Shirley Proctor Puller Foundation. We lease for a very small fee a portion of Johns Hopkins Middle School, so that students can go after school from Pinellas County Public Schools and other schools, but mostly public schools, and they receive after-school tutoring. There's enrichment programs. They do programs in the summer. They also use Pinellas Technical College, and they also lease space from us at Gibbs. They started at Johns Hopkins. They ran out of room, so we gave them more room at Johns Hopkins, and then they needed more space, and we're able to do so at Gibbs. And again, the city is a huge partner with that. And as we look at why have our schools gotten better? Why is 3rd grade reading better? Why is kindergarten readiness the 3rd highest rate in the state of Florida? All of these things are happening in cooperation with partners who work with us. Rising tide lifts everyone. And as we have these programs after school, in the summer, at night, it makes everyone better as a result. We also are very fortunate to have after-school providers, the YMCA and the R Club, who provide after-school care, before-school care to our students, and also in the summer. And the St. Pete Parks and Rec Department, where we run 51 bus routes to the St. Pete Rec Centers after school and before school, Bay Vista, Willis Johns, everywhere in between, to make sure that students are getting to the spot where the next handoff is for that next person who's going to help them on that academic journey. And as you know, a couple years ago, we were not doing well with bus routes. We are now doing fantastic with buses. But it was important to us to keep those even in the tough times, because we need to help families and students, and we need to get our families and students to the partners that help them the most. And so Ms. Dean Dahl, our head of Office of Strategic Partnerships, is here tonight. These are just a few highlights. She's happy to talk to anybody in the crowd through the Q&A part or just individually later. And if you want to mentor, help, have an idea, we are all here, our board, myself, and Ms. Dean, to hear that tonight. So I'm going to pass it to the city, and I think the mayor, who's going to take it from here on the city partnerships with education and youth.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Now we'll see if I can handle a clicker in my left hand. I didn't think this out because I've got to scroll with my right. What a great opportunity to talk about our partnerships. I want to thank again the entire Pinellas County school system for your partnership. We do have pillars for progress. There's Dr. Brown again. That we focus everything we do on these 5 pillars. And I have to, for those who don't know my story, I'm a child of educators. My dad, all of his siblings were educators in Pinellas County Schools, including Johnny, who was a principal at Perkins, Clarence, who was a longtime science teacher at Azalea, and my father, who helped start what was then St. Pete Votech. It had a different name back in the day. And you might not know, the first office I ever ran for was school board, and I lost that in '98. But I persevered and haven't lost one since. So, but my heart is in education. It is the most important investment we can make. So when we talk about our pillars for progress, we're really talking about opportunity. And the foundation for that, in my view, is education and youth opportunity. So that's one of our pillars. But it impacts the other 4 pillars. If we're serious about economic development and equitable business growth, then we have to prepare our young people with the skills, credentials, and real-world experiences that lead to good-paying careers, and then also meets the workforce needs of our employers in St. Pete and Pinellas County. If we're committed to the next pillar, which is neighborhood health and safety, we must invest in education and opportunities, not just arresting, but giving young folks a clear path to be successful. And that starts with those after-school programs, the mentorship, the workforce training, and positive pathways for our youth. If we believe in housing opportunities for all, then we must ensure the next generation has the earning power and the financial literacy to thrive in our city. As y'all all know, the cost of living is going up everywhere, but particularly when we have been traditionally a low to medium community in terms of salary level, the cost of living is outpacing that. And so we have to give our children the tools to compete. And I didn't even want to mention the AI word, which is changing everything about what future employment looks like. And then we have to have real, actual, affordable housing options in our city. And I'm proud that even on that front, we're partnering. We partner with the school system on the development near Coquina Key, Gravel Road. I forget the name of the development, but it is a brand new apartment complex for employees of the school system, right across the street from Lakewood Elementary, and employees of the city. So true affordable housing. We're working on that and being successful. And if we're building a resilient future through environmental stewardship and infrastructure, we have to educate and prepare our students on how to lead in the green industries of tomorrow. And so that's why partnership is so important, working alongside Pinellas County Schools and community organizations. I see some community advocates in here who are really interested in education. I'm looking at you, Trinia. Real-world programs that prepare students for college or other career paths and for life. And our vision is simple. It's 100% student success. Because when we invest in our young people, we're not just shaping individual futures, but we're strengthening St. Pete's future. So again, I just want to thank you all. Education is not separate from progress. It is progress. And I'm just so excited about the partnership and the progress we're making. I am going to hand this over now to Dr. Brown, and then I have another commitment, so she is going to carry the banner for the city during your conversation. And again, thank you for your partnership.
Thank you.
Good evening again, everyone. So wrong green button. There we go. So I'll just jump in with a few examples of partnerships as they relate to the city partnering with the school system. One of the first partnerships under Mayor's administration is City Reads, and we wrote whole new policies to be able to do this one. So basically, employees can go to the adopted school, and in this case it was Melrose, to read to pre-K children every week. With the goal of helping to contribute to that goal. I believe it's 65% in 5 years of 5-year-olds, 4 and 5-year-olds being ready for kindergarten. And so that happened last year. And really, I just want to point out for any one here who wants to go back to work and do their own version of City Reads. This, the city has done as a model for other organizations to adopt other preschool centers throughout Pinellas County Schools, because we can't do it by ourselves, and so we're modeling, hoping that others will follow suit. Born out of that is the Early Literacy Resource Guide. That's also a part of it. Perhaps you've seen these somewhere in the city, but basically this is a resource guide, and I brought it so you can see, that has all the free, or well, all is relative. We tried to get as many as we could conjure up, the resources that are available to families and caregivers to help them prepare their children ages 0 through 4 to be ready for kindergarten. It also comes in a bookmark form with a QR code on the back, so if you know anyone who needs one of these, then please, they're out there, take them with you. We have a program that's called Friday Flex. This is something that is an expansion of something that was called Safe Summer Fridays. And again, it's a partnership ensuring that young people during the summertime have something to do on Friday evenings. So we have extended time at different recreation centers, and the phone number is there if you're interested in finding out more about that. But basically, you can see we serve hundreds of youth weekly, giving them the opportunity to just relax, because even youth need to relax, right? They need to have some fun, they need to let loose, but in a safe environment, and that's what Friday Flex allows them to do. Then we have something as recent as the Teen Resource Fair that's coming up this Saturday. And so the purpose, as you can see, is for them to discover opportunities for employment, volunteering, and college information. It is free, no registration is necessary, and all you need to do is to go to the Parks and Rec site or contact the Tasco division. Then, as Superintendent mentioned, we have the before and after programs that happen through Parks and Recs. And again, you all help with the buses, we get the students there, so that's an example of how a partnership is happening. Again, the phone number is there in case you have young people and you want to find out about getting them into the before and after school programs. Another program, this one is getting ready to start in August of 2026. And this one I can say, you know, we're very proud of because it took partnership to get there. So this one is going to be serving high school students. You can see there we have Gibbs students, St. Pete students in Boca Ciega, and Lakewood High School students, those who need the support to ensure that they graduate. So we went through an entire process with the school system to select the schools, right? Because we wouldn't know which schools were the ones that would be the ones that need it most. So the school system helped us with that. The school system helped us with crafting the RFP that went out to find the vendor, and the school system helped us with selecting the vendor. And right now, the school system is helping us with setting up the meeting between the vendor and the principals whose schools you see identified there. So we wanted to put that one there. It's happening through the mayor's office, and it's a true, to me, I think that's a true demonstration of collaboration and partnership, because we did not just create a solution on our own. We worked hand in hand with those that we say we want to serve. And then there is Camp Bullseye, another partnership that if you have children who are rising 7th and 8th graders this year, you know of anyone who have children rising 7th and 8th graders, this one gives middle school students a real college experience. They have to apply. It's residential. They get to live on campus. So trust and know we are doing everything to keep them safe. They're like security guards at all corners of the hallways wherever they are. But they get that real going away college experience. You drop them off Monday morning, you pick them up Friday evening. They have majors, they have a capstone. It's a great celebration at the end. Applications open April 1st. If you notice, I'm trying to give you real-time things that you can engage in right now, right? Additionally, we can go on all night with the types of partnerships that we have, but I wanted to cram in as many as I could. So Superintendent already mentioned Master Kids with Shirley Puller Proctor Foundation. Another way we partner is employees, particularly from the Parks and Rec, serve on various PTAs and student advisory councils for community involvement. And then we partner by providing swim lessons. Now, this is coming out of Parks and Recs for sure, where the PE teachers walk the students over to the nearby Park and Rec department so that they receive the free swim lesson. So that's another opportunity or another way that we demonstrate partnership. And then, of course, there's STEAM that happens at the library. The final partnership that I want to mention, and this is another big one, this is called Engaging Disengaged Youth for Workforce Development Opportunities. And the partnership went as high as the superintendent and the mayor talking this thing through to ensure that it would be a successful one. And I have to say, the reason why this is happening is because one thing I've heard since I've been here is that we are resource rich, and we are, I've seen it. But at the same time, there's research that shows that there are 3,000 disengaged youth in the city of St. Petersburg. So how is it that we have so many workforce development opportunities, but 3,000 disengaged youth, meaning they're not in school and they're not working? So clearly, we the adults, we're not communicating the way we need to communicate so that they know these opportunities are available to them. So right now what's happening is the research is happening with USF Keys Consulting Firm, Agrios Corner. Some of our representatives are here this evening, and they have the flyers back there if you want to know more, to hear from the voice of the students. And when this project started, I'm going on a little bit about this because it's very important. We must get this right. When this project started, in order for the research, I'm gonna get a little nerdy on you, to be generalizable and valid, we needed just about 357 students. And I have to say, thank you, Superintendent, that to date we have almost, I put 1,000 on there. It's more since I put that. We have almost 1,200 students participating. So those are 1,200 voices that we are going to hear to inform us, the adults, how we need to do our jobs better to ensure that these 3,000 disengaged youth become engaged with the various and the many workforce development opportunities that are available to them. And so on behalf of the City Council, I'm thanking you.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. Thank you, Mayor Welch. I think if you're in the audience tonight, you know that that's a lot, right? And you probably learned a program or two that you didn't know about, even if you've lived here a long time. We wanted to give just a couple of other general school district updates before we get to the Q&A session, particularly things that our board has been involved in and engaged in recently, and one of those is planning for progress. We did 5 community meetings across the district over the last several months to talk about the decline in school enrollment, and without making this a presentation about that, but I think you probably know that fewer children live in Pinellas County and certainly in St. Petersburg. That's due to birth rates, that's due to cost of housing, as the mayor mentioned, and it's due to increased competition. But the largest reason is birth rates. We, 20 years ago, had 10,000 children born in Pinellas County hospitals. Last year, we had 7,000 born in Pinellas County hospitals. And so this year, we have 7,000 seniors in our 12th grade classrooms. We have 5,000 kindergartners. And so over time, there will be a continual decline in school enrollment. And so addressing that and better using our facilities, our board, on my recommendations, and our staff, made some decisions to create a couple of new K-8 schools in the district, one at Bay Point Elementary and Middle School, which will open in 27-28, combining the 2 schools that are there now. Oldsmar Elementary will become a K-8. That'll open next year. McMullen Booth Elementary School, we're adding our 2nd employee child care facility. We have one that has been operating on 66th Street in Pinellas Park. It is now full of 120 6-month-old to 3-year-olds of our own employees, and we have a waiting list there, so we're opening up a second one. Stay tuned, there could be one in St. Pete not too long after that. And we did make the difficult decision to close 2 schools beginning at the end of this school year, Cross Bayou Elementary School and Distant Academy, again, due to enrollment. And so we do have some plans. Our board has voted on all those. We will continue now to enact those recommendations, and we'll have additional recommendations next fall as we look at additional areas of the community around school enrollment. We have engaged municipalities in this process. We've met with mayors, and as we get more into St. Petersburg, we'll be chatting more with our friends with the city as well. And then a second item I wanted to bring up tonight, that each time we're out in the community, we always talk about start times. A law changed last year that requires high schools to start after 8:30 a.m. if the school district doesn't do anything about it. And we've been in conversations with the public for quite some time about it, and so anytime we're out and about, we always bring it up again. But we are a district that, number one, is extremely densely populated, the most densely populated county in the state of Florida, and one that also provides transportation to a lot of magnet programs across our district. And so you can live by the Skyway Bridge and go to school in Largo if that's the program that best meets your needs, and vice versa. And so we've continued to keep our elementary school start times in that 8:45, 8:50 area, our middle schools at 9:30, and our high schools at 7:30 because of the long bus routes, particularly in high school. We've looked at what happens if we need to change those. Would we reduce busing? Would we have to limit transportation and things like that? I'm not going to get into all of those tonight, but if you have feedback on that later on, I want to point out Jennifer Dull, our Chief Operations Officer in the back. If you've been following that legislation or you have some specific feedback around that, you can ask us questions certainly, but she'll take your individual feedback later. And so with that, we're going to get to the question and answer portion, I believe, and give our board members a chance to opine on all things education and the city of St. Petersburg. And so, Ms. Dean, I'll pass it back to you for the facilitation of Q&A.
So thank you so much, Superintendent Hendrick and the City of St. Petersburg, for the overview tonight. We are now going to move to the question and answer portion, which will be 45 minutes. We're going to try to get through as many questions as we possibly can during that time. So if you have questions, there will be people coming around to get them from you. If you need another note to write on, you can also raise your hand. We will be monitoring that and bringing the questions up here, and we will give the superintendent, the board, and the city the opportunity to respond. We do ask that all panelists are committed to maintaining civility and decorum in our community meetings, and this includes refraining from clapping or making any audible noises during or after the speakers or staff members' comments. So we appreciate your assistance in maintaining this constructive environment. So it will be, lastly, we'll just make sure that all of the comments are going to be replayed on our YouTube channel, and they can be publicly viewed and archived. So if you do need to reach anyone, you can reach our board at pcsb.org, or you can also reach our super at pcsb.org, and then you can also then reach the city, and the mayor has one as well, so mayor@stpete.org. So if you need to reach any of them, you can reach out to us at any time, and we'll start with the questions. So here we go. Question 1, when will the disengaged youth survey be completed, and when will the results be open to the community, presented to the community?
Thank you for asking that question. Right now, we are on target, and you all correct me if I'm wrong, but we are on target to complete the collection of data by April. And we are on target to release the data to the community this summer, at the end of closer to the end of the year. We do intend to make the release public. We don't have plans yet for how that's going to happen, but we definitely have to make that happen so everyone is informed and we can all move forward collectively. Thank you. Did I get everything, Ms. Dean?
You did. I just want to chime in, Dr. Brown. She mentioned getting the right number of students to do that, and the reason that's a little bit of a lift is when you're dealing with university research and the Institutional Review Board on the university side, we also have one in the school district. We have to protect student rights, responsibilities, privacy, all of those things, and so our organizations really work together to do that, and that's why we've had such success with that.
Okay, the next question, what are the gaps in partnerships that PCS and St. Pete are looking to build or create?
I think that's a good one for our board to start with. Gaps in partnerships, fire away.
I think, I'm not sure about gaps. I think what I would say is that we are always open to partnerships with community members that want to be engaged with our schools. I think we've seen here tonight, when the mayor highlighted, and Dr. Brown as well, that when you have community buy-in, our schools benefit, but it's a symbiotic relationship. When our schools, do well, we're an A-rated district for the second year in a row, it benefits the community as well. So I think any and everyone that's interested in being a part of our schools and uplifting our youth would be great.
There's also opportunity to partner outside of the school system. One of the things highlighted was the Shirley Proctor Puller Foundation, which is something that occurs outside of school. I think during this time, it's important to leverage community programs and organizations because that outside of school time is critical, just as critical as the in-school time. So organizations that are able to be approved and pass background checks with families and get those students who may be disengaged or reluctant to go to your rec center or wherever else due to what their interests might be. I have seen skateboard clubs pop up. Again, if we have interest-based activities for students outside of school, that's another opportunity to capture and build relationships with the student who may not be as interested as in programs that we have inside of the schools. So as it relates to other gaps and opportunities, I do want to just echo the sentiments regarding mentorships in the city's programs in collaborative partnership with adding all the things you highlighted earlier, because it is impactful work. Continuing the momentum and building upon the partnerships that we have is also another thing. I talked to Katie with Big Brothers and Sisters, Big Brothers, Big Sisters before this started, and just hearing that her program is already engaged in high schools and they're looking to spread more after figuring out some of the structure behind it. We do have partners who are looking forward to being collaborative with the district. It's just a matter of how to make it work. And Superintendent Hendrick, he mentioned some of the structures in place to protect students and staff, which also might be add additional constraints to all of the programs that we're able to have within the school system. So there are a lot of bits and pieces, and I would like to see more families get engaged with the school system, because parent engagement is definitely something I think we could see improved.
And I wanted to add to the conversation of gaps, because that's basically how I started this role. You know, in here, the city has no control, right, over what happens in the school system. So when I got into the role, I thought, well, what is my role? I'm not a superintendent here. And I viewed it as just doing that, working with the school system to identify what are the gaps, and then seeing how we as the city could contribute to filling those. So Saturday Lead is a 100% example of that. Saturday Lead, the one that's starting in August of this year with those 3 high schools, that is filling a gap. Another one that's filling a gap, again, born from talking to the school system and also even SPC, is engaging disengaged youth. That too is an example of filling a gap. And quite honestly, one of the reasons we were excited about this opportunity tonight is because we wanted to do something, the city, wanted to do something around family engagement and community partnership, but we didn't know what needed to be done. We're not just gonna write up an RFP for the sake of writing an RFP and giving out money, not doing that. It's that's my taxpayer dollars. And so when the superintendent invited us, said this is a perfect opportunity to hear about what other gaps there are, but hearing them from the community to help inform how we move forward. So that's the how, from my perspective.
And I just want to say that Dr. Brown is spot on. When I had the opportunity to meet with her, it was about intentionality. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad you brought up mentorships, because that's always something that we always need more mentors within our communities. That's a huge gap. I'm sorry. But I would like to add too, without our community partners all over the county, they contribute millions and millions and millions of dollars of support, resources, and programs in our schools that we would not be able to provide without the community partnerships, because we just don't receive the funding that we need to make those programs possible, and they are necessary. So advocacy then also at the state level is so important from the community at large.
Okay, next question. Do all schools have PTAs?
So you heard Dr. Brown mention SACs. All schools have SACs. Those are school advisory councils. PTAs, not necessarily, not every single school. I don't have a list in front of me, but I would definitely be wrong if I said every single one. Certainly it depends on the school. Sometimes high schools just aren't as active as elementary schools. Elementary parents are normally more engaged, but not every school has one.
Where will the hearing impaired children where will they be having their audiology evals now that Cross Bayou Elementary is closing?
Walsingham Oaks K-8, which is in Largo, not far from where Cross Bayou was.
So tips, please share what it looks like for truancy intervention and prevention services.
Would anyone like to take that? All right, I'll take it. So the truancy intervention program, so essentially when students are truant from school, it depends first on their age. So as you can imagine, the younger a student is, the more the responsibility is that of the parent to get a child to school. The older they become, it's obviously a little more on the child. In high school, basically after the age of 16, the courts will no longer process any kind of truancy case or anything like that. So it's really trying to address truancy before 16, and we do that in elementary and middle and high school. The TIPS program comes in, and there are others, that just happens to be one, as an intervention when there is a problem with a student and a family. And that can be assigned in a variety of ways. It could be assigned through a judge. It could be assigned through a mediator, through family court and other issues. It's not normally truancy is an indicator of other issues inside of a family structure, and so it may be assigned through that. It could be that TIPS is assigned through the child study team, through a social worker in a case that elevates beyond that. But there are a number of intervention programs that our social workers at schools can give to families to help with that. TIPS in particular is one in which they go to class as a family. There's a parent portion, there's a child portion, and the goal is that the families work through that together. But again, there's kind of a sweet spot of age in that. For students who are really young, you're talking about really that's more of a parent side issue. If you're talking about a kindergartner or a first grader who's constantly truant, that's not really where you need the child to get educated on that. So there's a whole host of things in between. And those programs vary based on community support because the district doesn't fund those ourselves. They're always through other providers in the ways that those are facilitated.
Thank you. When can we get a collaboration with CoQuebs and the City of St. Petersburg?
It's hard to answer that question because what is the collaboration for? I would need to know what it is. So to just say when, that would be difficult. What is the collaboration for? I will say I have I used to attend CoQuebs when I first moved here, and then since I've started in this role, I've attended a couple of times. But if there is, whoever asked that question, my email is public. It's on the website, sharon.brown@stpete.org. You can email me and we can talk about whatever that potential collaboration that you envision would be.
I don't know if any of our board members were there today because I was with our students at USF St. Pete, but our district meets with CoQuebs, the Concerned Organization for the Quality Education of Black Students, monthly during the school year. Today happened to be a presentation our district presented on the Transformation Zone and proficiency gains in our Transformation Zone schools, as well as our English language arts curriculum and what it looks like in our high schools. In fact, Danica Jones, our Chief Academic Officer, made that presentation, and our board members attend regularly at CoQuebs. Typically 1 or 2 is there every month. And I like Dr. Brown said, though, when you're talking about what is it that we want to do together, because we certainly go and talk about the value of what's happening in our schools regularly.
Yeah, and I wanted to just add to that. You just triggered something for me with that because there are, going back to the gaps question and then tying that to collaboration, there are many gaps. There are spaces where we need the community to help. So for instance, when I talked about us being a model for City Reads, right? So we're modeling at Melrose, but there are other schools that have pre-K programs. And so potentially that's an area to collaborate with CoQuebs to see, okay, what community members can we gather together to then go off and adopt another school, right? Because as I said earlier, we can't adopt all of the schools. So that's an example of a collaboration that could happen, but again, it's hard to answer if I don't know what the collaboration is. But I'm just throwing one out there, so if you want to email me, that's sheron.brown@stpete.org, and I welcome that conversation.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. Please provide an overview of the services for the nearly 4,000 students who are homeless.
I'll start, and then our board serves on the Homeless Leadership Alliance as well, and I think they can chime in. I think Ms. Blacksburg is on the board this year, and I know the city does a lot as well. We have a homeless education assistance team called HEAT is the acronym that supports and works with homeless students in our district, and that goes everything from providing connections on social services, food, any kind of family support that is needed, and of course transportation as we try to keep the student at their school of origin when it makes sense for them and the family. So our team constantly works in that direction, but there are a lot of others in the community that support that work as well. So maybe Ms. Blacksburg, if you want to just talk about the Homeless Leadership Alliance and how we support that, and then I don't know, Dr. Brown, if you want to chime in.
Sure. We actually have a meeting on Friday. So we do have, within the county as large as ours, we have quite a large number of unhoused youth. I think it's in close to the thousands, around there. I don't know that it changes daily. Part of the issue with that is it's self-reporting. So we don't ask those questions. We rely on the families to let us know so that then we can provide services, which we do. We partner with Directions for Living, the Homeless Leadership Alliance, to provide those services outside of education. Obviously, our job as a district is to educate those children to make sure that they, the superintendent mentioned that they don't have to leave their home school if they, for whatever reason, have to leave their home. At least they don't have to leave their home school. We try to keep those safety nets there so that there's some sense of normalcy for those kids. But we do have outside organizations that we partner with in order to help the families.
Ms. Blacksburg, you said it at the end. I was just going to elaborate a little bit more about the HEAT team and the effort they make to try and provide those wraparound services and supports that children and families may need.
Thank you. What has been done to improve teacher morale in the past few years?
Dr. Brown, would you like to answer that one? Teacher morale? No. A number of things. So it is one of the strategic priorities in our district strategic plan, and there are several objectives in our plan specifically related to that. One of the things is to make our staff know that they're appreciated. And when I became superintendent, I instituted a recognition program around our core values between employees. And still, 4 years later, every month we have about 1,000 different recognitions of employees to employees saying thank you around the work that they do centered on our core values. We do small things like we never recognized employees on their birthday. They now receive an email on their birthday from me saying happy birthday, here's some things to do to celebrate. And then I choose some of those recognitions on the core values. In every school board meeting, I choose one of those, I read it out to thank our employees publicly. It's done sort of at random, and then I show up with a certificate and a gift card and award it to them in their school. I was at Sanders yesterday and Hollins High School doing that for 2 employees that were recently recognized, and the day before at our food service center for one of those. But at the end of the day, how do people feel more valued? You see their salary increase, right? And so the board went out and asked the public for additional funds in the referendum to support teacher salaries as well as all employees, and the community overwhelmingly voted in favor of that. And so this year, every teacher received a $4,100 raise courtesy of the referendum, and every other employee in the district outside of administrators received a $3,200 raise. That's in addition to whatever raise we were able to give through our regular funding, which, as you follow state funding in the state of Florida, is not a lot. So the referendum was really a big help. There's a number of other things we've done around trying to improve the employee experience. You heard about housing partnerships. We do have one with the city. We're working on our own at Tomlinson Mirror Lake property for employee housing. And then our employee child care program, which is really trying to help at below market rate employee child care with an easy drop off, long hours to work on employees. So those are just some of the things that we've done. I don't know if the board wants to chime in on a few others.
We also have the Teacher of the Year award. So you've probably seen where schools are highlighting their Teacher of the Year, and then there's another nomination round, and then ultimately the district chooses their Teacher of the Year. The same thing occurs with support professionals as well. Superintendent Hendra, he took away some of the things I was going to mention regarding listening to employees. Employees were asking for child daycare, and we have one. And now we're expanding to McMullen Booth, and then also housing, and he just highlighted the housing opportunities. So we are continuing to listen to employees, taking their feedback from the stakeholder or teacher survey that was just, the results were just released. All of this information is important, and we as a board and superintendent and staff continue to welcome the feedback from employees as to what can we do better to support them. I do want to add the district-wide training that we have. I was a teacher for Pinellas County Schools. I remember having to go to that specific training and hearing that the district has changed it to more of what do you need, more of a what do you want to do and need training. We've gotten really good feedback. So people are not feeling like time's being wasted or they're doing something redundant. So that is another good thing that we're doing to support employees.
Well, we try to contribute to your teachers' teacher morale as well. We can't give anybody a raise, but for Teacher of the Year, we engage with Teacher of the Year. We sent every St. Pete, I have to be specific, every St. Pete Teacher of the Year in every St. Pete school a message from the mayor and a nice box with a gift in them showing appreciation. Plus, if you were able to possibly see on social media, the mayor visited 3 teachers' surprise visits to hand deliver those gifts to them. So that's one thing we've done. Another thing, we tried to also get a gift to them at some time around teacher appreciation, and that is every teacher in St. Petersburg. And as the mayor sends a message just letting them know that we need them and we appreciate them, we also send them a gift. So the last gift that I recall was a year's access to Sunken Gardens. You know, it has to be a gift that we can afford to give. And so even right now, I'm thinking of what's our gift this year. So that's how we try to contribute to teacher morale, because we also have a strategic focus area that's around youth well-being, and we know that the teachers who stand before them contribute to their well-being, so we want them to have good well-being as well.
And if I can just add one more thing, our next Listen and Learn, which is in April, is focused on the employee experience. And so our employees are invited to give us feedback on how we can make it better for them, and some of these answers are part of that. And we appreciate the city doing all those things. A lot of our municipalities do that. It's easy when you have 3 schools in your city, a little more difficult when you have 50, and so we appreciate the city continuing that.
Thank you. Next question is, what will happen to the 2 school buildings that are being closed?
So the board just made the vote for that just a week or so ago. Per our conversations leading up to that, we will be looking to either partner or sell those facilities for the best use of the community. In both communities, Gulfport and Pinellas Park, we had prior conversations with the city administrator and elected officials to talk to them about what is their vision for that space, and then look forward with that. There are a lot of things on the table. It could be housing for the community, it could be green space, but we're not in the business of just putting a fence around something and ignoring it for the next decade. We do want to see it be part of the community. But the reality is, when you look at birth rates and you look at the need for school space in Pinellas County, really clear data out of the University of Florida for the next 50 years, we will not need that space. And so it does not need to be school space in the future, so it could be other things. In some of the spaces, the repurposed space, we do have some partners moving in, things like Shirley Proctor Puller, which have been successful. I think you'll start to see some of those types of partnerships in other areas as well. So we're actively working on that. As literally as earlier today, we've had conversations with partners about those spaces. And to be fair to and Dr. Brown knows this, we've talked to the city a year ago about what's coming forward in Mayor Welch's office just about potential spaces in St. Petersburg and how can we continue to partner on that as well.
Okay, what is the court order status regarding Brown versus the Board of Education, and how will the district, will they vote to extend that order?
Would you guys like to talk about the Brown versus Board of Education, Topeka? No? All right, so I'll give a brief history, not being the attorney, but so Brown versus Board of Education, integrated schools, right? And so in our case, that was the Bradley case that brought that to Pinellas County Schools. In fact, I should have Trina Cox come give this, because she gave an oration on this at CoQuebs one day that was phenomenal. But essentially, the Bradley case and unitary status and the integration of schools in Pinellas County going back to the 60s and 70s, and then eventually all that happened in our schools to build schools and make sure that everything's equitable across the district. That case has long been settled, but is monitored by DMAC, the District Monitoring and Advisory Committee, of which a board member attends every quarter, and members of the community attend, and I believe Ms. Cox is the current chair of that group. And so that group monitors unitary status, and it continues to do that, and has done so for, I guess, over 20 years now in doing that. So that's that case. It has a number of factors. It's not in any kind of litigation right now. It continues to be monitored. Separate from that, in Pinellas County was the Crowley case, which CoQuebs is now the group that manages that. And so with CoQuebs, we had a Bridging the Gap 10-year plan. It is in its 9th year. And earlier this year at CoQuebs, we had a community conversation about how do we continue that when it expires after 10 years. We had a good conversation about ways to keep that going. And so we will continue to engage with CoQuebs. We're making a presentation to our board coming up at a workshop in March on the mid-year update of the Bridging the Gap plan. We are looking to bring to our board an update to that plan by the start of next school year, and then a conversation about how to continue that after that. So that's where we are. I don't know that we have a current litigation with Brown versus Board of Education, but our continued case with CoQuebs and making sure we're doing the good work. At the end of the day, the question is, what are the results of that Bridging the Gap plan? And so we can say that the graduation gap is as low as it's ever been between black and non-black students. We can say the proficiency gap between black and non-black students is as low as it's ever been in the 10-year history of the plan. We can also say that that gap is way too wide and it needs to be narrowed faster and with more urgency. And we've seen good progress with that, particularly in early learning and in our elementary schools. And what we know about literacy scores is that once students become proficient, they typically stay proficient the rest of their academic careers. And so there's really good hope for the future, but hope does not solve the problem, right? We have to continue that work as a community. A lot of the programs that we heard about tonight help to address that. And so our board will continue to engage in that. I know our board members attended that CoQuebs meeting. I don't know if they want to chime in on anything else.
I mean, I'm happy to. I was at the Listen and Learn session that we did at, was that Largo?
Ridgecrest neighborhood. Yeah.
It was in Largo, in the city of Largo, Ridgecrest. I think I speak for, I know I speak for myself and the board that we are aware that any gap is too big. We need to ensure that all of our kids are set up for success. So monitoring that and ensuring that we have the programs and supports in place so that gap gets smaller and smaller, because right now we all recognize that we still have work to do.
Having the opportunity to be on the DMAC committee last year, as well as attend the CoQuebs meetings and meet with the goal managers regarding the Bridging the Gap plan, as well as attend the Ridgecrest meeting, it is extremely important that the Bridging the Gap plan and the need for closure of the gap continues to be a priority. As Superintendent Hendrick mentioned, there are definitely things that the district is doing. However, there is more that we can do, in my opinion, as it relates to closing the achievement gap. So with great progress, there is still more work to do. I look forward to remaining engaged with community partners regarding this very important topic, because we all know that there is a correlation between academic success and quality of life. And if we have it where our Black students are not proficient compared to counterparts, then it's a problem. So I look forward to joining the people who are here today, as well as district staff and board members, in advocating for various ways that we can close the achievement gap. I do want to highlight the PELI, Pinellas Early Literacy Initiative, because I've seen firsthand that it's different from what we were doing when I was a teacher at Fairmont Park and Melrose Elementary. It's very different. It's intentional work in collaboration with the support from Pinellas Education Foundation, which I serve on the board of. The data doesn't lie, right? When you're looking at the data and you can see that the early work is helping, you continue that work. You spread it around. College and career centers, they are supporting students academically as well on what's after high school, how to prep for those college exams. So as much progress we have, there's still more work to do. Thank you.
I applaud all of the efforts that I hear, and I have to say, since I've been here, I have seen that Pinellas County Schools does do a lot. When I was in Prince George's County, Maryland Public Schools, we did a lot there too. And so for a moment, I want to take off the hat of being this Director of Education and Youth Opportunities for the City of St. Petersburg and put on the hat of when I was a teacher, when I was a principal, when I was a network charter leader. And as I said, I commend all of these, but I also ask that community members get together and figure out how to galvanize, how to motivate one another, because the first teacher is the one in the home. So how do we galvanize our community members? Yes, hold the school system accountable. I agree to that 100%. But what are we as community members also doing? Because again, the first teacher is at home, and I think it's all of us together, not just the school system, because there's only but so much they can do. They have to go home and sleep like the rest of us. So what can we also do as family members and community members to contribute to closing the gap?
Thank you, Dr. Brown. Next question is, how can organizations connect with PCS to get information about their resources directly to families outside of Peach Jar?
Would you like to answer that, Ms. Steen? Yeah. Well, one of the, we do have to balance getting information out. We can't stuff everything in a child's backpack. Parents are critical of us if we're sending certain things but not other things. So we have to be balanced, and Peach Jar is a good way to do that. However, having said that, one of the ways is to work with individual schools, and as you're trying to do things to have neighborhood programs or whatever that is, individual schools can do things that the district as a whole really can't, right? We're not going to direct an individual school. You need to take this and give it out to your families in the car line, but a school can make that choice. A school can let you set up a table at the parent night. A school can let you set up a table at a football game. A school can have you in the cafeteria at lunchtime. A school can do a lot of those things that as a district, Tarpon Springs to Lakewood High School, we're not going to have the same person go around and do that. But for example, there are a number of partners, programs through especially in our high schools, that come into our lunchrooms. And yes, there's rules and regulations, and you have to be fingerprinted and properly supervised and all of that. But once we get through that hoop, it's pretty easy then to directly connect with students. On the parent side, the same thing. Again, connecting with an individual school is the best route versus asking the district to say, can you send this out to 70,000 students? The answer is probably going to be no. The logistics of that are just too difficult. Even with our elected officials, believe it or not, during election years, all of a sudden we get a lot of requests from elected officials to send letters home to students congratulating them on different things of, this award or that award, or can I send one home for the honor roll, and all these different things. And sometimes the answer is no, we can't. We can't print honor roll certificates with the U.S. Senator's name on them and all of a sudden send them home. We're not doing that, right? So there's got to be other ways to connect. And there are, but it's typically through individual schools.
Okay, next question. What current pathways and partnerships exist for students to access apprenticeships or certifications through partnerships?
I'm going to have our greatest Pinellas Technical College cheerleader speak in just a moment. But we have a lot. So in our high schools, there are internship, apprenticeship opportunities at every high school through our career technical education programs, most of which articulate to either Pinellas Technical College, St. Petersburg College, or both. And in that, there are apprenticeships and on-the-job trainings. We have 1,000 high school students right now, 1,000 who take dual enrollment through Pinellas Technical College. So they're not just taking a high school class, they're taking a college-level class, and 95% of them earn the industry certification by the time they graduate high school. So that's a big number, and all of those have some sort of work-based learning component to it. We do have an apprenticeship coordinator in our district who works with our high schools and our technical colleges to set those up. We have a lot of partners. Our board is regularly approving agreements with the Electrical Workers Association and different groups. But also, you can become an apprentice in Pinellas County Schools. So I'm going to let Ms. Peters, she was at our signing ceremony the other night, talk about our own in-house apprenticeship program. We do a lot with the technical college to fill our own trades sides, but we've had a big partnership around teachers as well. And then, Ms. Peters, you want to chime in on that? And then I know Ms. Edmond wants to talk about Pinellas Technical College. She has to.
We all want to talk about Pinellas Technical College because it's so amazing. And it's funny because my electrician that worked on my house, they hire people to work for their company and then see if it kind of works for them, and then they have the apprenticeship with Pinellas Technical College, then they sign them up and send them and pay for them to work for their company while they're sending them to get their training at Pinellas Technical College. So that's amazing. But no, we have our apprenticeship program for teachers. So people that work within our school district currently in different roles but are not educators, we just had our public signing day, official commitment signing day for our first round of Pinellas County School employees that are committing to be teachers within our school district. And we did get some appropriations, but we voted as a board and supported this effort before we even got those appropriations because we knew how important it was. These are people that are already committed to our schools, work in our schools, and love our schools and our kids. And it was it almost 30? Almost 30 teachers or people signed up to commit to be teachers in our schools. They've been working toward this goal for 2 years. Mm-hmm. They are graduating this May, and so they're working at our schools. They're taking these classes. It might be free, but it is not easy. They had amazing stories. The teachers that work within our schools take them under their wing, and they are the mentor for those staff members at their schools. And the principals, the teachers had really great stories. Again, this is our first wave of teachers or apprentices that are committing to be teachers. Great stories, great commitment. They want to work at the schools, and those principals and those teachers want them to stay at their schools, every single one of them. So if they each have openings and they apply for that school, they want them there. So it was really very inspiring to meet all of them and hear their stories, hear about what the mentor teachers learned from that process as well. They weren't sure. They were like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be a mentor. I don't know what that really means. And now to hear them 2 years later talking about what they've learned and how that's helped them grow as a teacher and as the position within their schools, their school themselves. So very inspiring. We have now our second wave has already started also. Cohort, I guess, is the better word. So it's an amazing program. We want to get as many of our employees to move up that chain to become teachers and educators in the schools that they already love and the kids they already love working with. And they're doing this because they love kids. It's really inspiring.
And that's the power in strategic partnership. Mm-hmm. This partnership is with St. Petersburg College. Mm-hmm. So having the opportunity to have that pipeline where people can start as a paraprofessional or support professional and work their way up to a career path that's definitely rewarding as well as challenging. So that is just another example of strategic partnerships. But just to go back to PTC, opportunity starts here. We have both the St. Pete location and Clearwater location, phenomenal programs available to adult learners as well as youth. Superintendent Hendrick highlighted the dual enrollment opportunities available to students, and then I just want to talk a little bit about the academic opportunities for adult learners, right? If you are interested in obtaining your GED or learning another skill or certification, please visit PTC to learn more about the opportunities they provide. It is definitely a professional atmosphere, and I'm hearing great things from both the youth who are participating as well as the adults.
And I just wanted to piggyback very quickly on the apprenticeships, because we partner in supporting that in a unique way. Last year, which we are believing will be an annual thing, we launched in partnership with the school system Connecting Careers in Classrooms, where 100 of your career and technical teachers expressed a need. They said, we know what we're here teaching, but we want to see what it looks like in the real world. And so they reached out to the city, Mr. Prince right there, and he helped to coordinate all of it to bring in teachers from career and tech to have if you will, a field trip, a one-day field trip with us during the school day, and they were dispersed. It was a chore, but they were dispersed to various departments: fire, PD, transportation, sanitation, housing, economic development, budget and finance, and water resources, and they were broken out according to their disciplines, and they went and they got a tour, and they got to speak to the city administrators who lead over those areas, and then come back together in the second part of the day to hear the bigger picture about helping the young people find their path, whether it be through the city or otherwise in the careers that they're focused on through career and tech. So I thought that was a unique way, and we jumped at the opportunity to support that way, because I'm going to say it again, I used to be a teacher. So as a former teacher, I recognize the value of relevant professional development that you can go back and apply immediately. So we were glad to be able to support and partner in that way.
I'll just chime in on one more thing and then get to the next question. In all of the proposals that have been thrown around about the gas plant area in the last decade, nearly every one of those partners has come to the school district and said, if we receive this, we need to have a partnership with Pinellas Technical College, because the amount of skilled workers that are going to be needed to do the work over the next 2 decades, 3 decades, will have to increase, and we need your help. And so many of them have used our name in their bids and processes, and we're not going to take questions on the gas plant tonight, but we know that partnership is there, and we appreciate the city's help. And so I'll pass it back to Ms. Dean.
Okay, are there any current behavioral, mental, social, and emotional support partnerships?
There are a number. So one of the things that our board votes on every year is a mental health plan. And that mental health allocation plan comes in a sort of like a block grant from the state. It's about $5 million. We spend about $29 million on social workers, mental health supports, all kinds of things. But within there are specific dollars for outreach with organizations in the community to support students. And so the board votes on that every year. There's a number of partners, you can see it in the plan. But schools provide the basic level of service and then typically refer families out for a higher level of need. And so that's where these other partners come in and support. Sometimes that's through just straight mental health support. Sometimes it's through behavioral support, or even the threat management process, where students have been referred because of some sort of threatening behavior to themselves or others. And part of that process is to make sure that they get the support and help that they need. In that process, when there is a need, there is a support plan that is monitored by the school's teams. And depending on the severity of the need, it could be as frequently as every 30 days, it could be 90 days, it could be once a year, it just depends. And the outside folks support us with that, as do a number of other organizations. We've also, under the board's direction, devoted more resources to behavior support, so behavior technicians, applied behavior analysts to look at root cause behavior. We've had support from other partners in the community to help us with that, not to have more rooms for consequences, but more individuals to actually help, because our teachers are not experts in that. They can manage a classroom, but they are not here to diagnose a behavior problem or a mental health problem, and so we need support with that. So it's been quite a few, and certainly the community has helped with that.
Okay, I think this is going to be our last question for the evening. So how are families and community members involved in identifying partnership priorities?
Yeah, I think you heard from Dr. Brown earlier in the different ways they've tried to solicit input. That's really what tonight and events like this are about, is listening to the community and giving us your feedback, your input. And a lot of times, I know there's a lot of partners in the room tonight, different organizations. We've mentioned many of them. They do a lot of work on the ground with families in places that the school district doesn't live in and spaces we don't live in, and they bring that feedback and input to us through a variety of different means, whether it's through research, whether it's through mentoring, the Juvenile Welfare Board we mentioned, certainly the city. And so I think all those things bring to us those priorities. However, that's why we come out and do events like that. That's why we have board meetings. That's why the board is always available. So I'll leave the last word to them in different ways we solicit that input, but I think it's a never-ending process.
You're right, Superintendent Hendrick. It is a never-ending process. Sometimes I receive emails or I'm out in the community and someone says, hey, how do I get connected? So I usually connect them directly to Ms. Daw or the appropriate staff member related to what they're trying to do. What I have learned in my time of being on the board is that there are lots of programs available, and the district has to be cognizant of what they're putting in front of parents and students as far as programs that will best meet the needs of their child. So that, in my opinion, is very important. It is also important for people to know that there's only so many hours within a day. So having outside community partners who can provide that wraparound care when the student exits the school system for the day is crucial. With laws and legal things surrounding what the district can do or what a parent might prefer for their student to be best, it's actually and sometimes better for the parent to navigate what they think is appropriate for their child outside of the school system. So those community partnerships are important. Collaborating with community organizations, it was mentioned earlier, but I think it's important to talk a little bit about the work that the COQUEBS is doing. They recently had Baby Talk, which had mental health professionals doing the ASQ screenings and connecting families to resources. That was held at PTC, again, outside of school time, open to the community, connecting families to resources that they may or may not receive directly through the school district. So it's going to take a village. It's going to take all of us to do what we can to support the needs of the students and families within our community. And I welcome the dialogue afterwards as well.
Before I pass it back to Ms. Steen to wrap up, I want to correct an earlier answer I gave that was incorrect. Somebody asked about audiology services. Our students are going to Walsingham K-8. The testing for audiology, when it's done independently, will be at the Betty Ray Ivy Center, which is where our our employee child care program is, as well as where we do current testing for students who are coming into the system with disabilities, whether it's speech or anything else. And so right around the corner from where Cross Bayou was.
So thank you, Superintendent Hendrick. I just want to thank everyone for being here tonight and the great questions that you brought to us. As you are leaving tonight, if you have additional questions, we will be here to meet with you. Each of us will stay. But if you have additional questions that you would like to give us, you're welcome to write them down so that we can collect them. So I do want to thank our superintendent, our board members, and Dr. Brown for being here. We also thank the mayor for being here earlier. Thank you to Obama Library. And if you want to listen to any of our Listen and Learns, they are on our webpage at pinellascountypcsb.org/listen and learn. We always have those on there if they're archived for you. So I just want to thank you. You guys have a great night, but we will stay here to answer any further questions.